thank you for joining me. We've got Katy Bentz, who is the voice of Steph in True Colors Before the Storm, and not True Colors Before the Storm. Life is Strange, True Colors, comma, or Before the Storm, and now Wavelengths, a DLC specifically about Steph. We've also got Mallory Littleton, who is the senior narrative designer from Deck 9. Hello to both of you. Thank you for joining me.
Hello.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Now, we've got a very short amount of time, and I'm super excited for this. I just want to start straight away. Katy, I'm going to start with you. I guess it's a strange thing. I just started playing Before the Storm. I kind of skipped it. And like straight away, the first thing I noticed is how less confident Steph sounds as compared to True Colors. And I'm sure as she'll continue to sound in Wavelengths. And I was curious if that was like a conscious thing, if that was you just like acting so well and like showing Steph's, progress and maturity, or if that's like a combination of Steph's maturity and your own.
I think it's a combination of Steph's and my own. I think naturally my voice has, matured as well, and it worked out for Steph maturing. And I think there's just a level of just written confidence that, we explored a lot with Steph. So, there was a lot more lines to play with and a lot more for me to be able to figure out really who this character is besides just this like nerdy tabletop DM lesbian, like there's so much more to her. And with the writing in True Colors and in Wavelengths, we get to explore that a lot.
Nice. And I guess is that one of the biggest differences? Obviously, with the previous games that you've been as Steph, it's more responding to the Alexes or the Chloes or the Rachels. And now we're getting like internal monologue and like choice and variation on, how a scene can play. Is that doing it justice, or is it far more than that?
I mean, I think that's, secondary NPC in Before the Storm now turned main character, now turned playable character. So she definitely has, transitioned over this time. And with all of that, the player is going to be able to learn more about Steph than they could have ever imagined.
That's nice. Now, I had a chance to watch about 5 or 10 minutes. The 15 minutes of gameplay came in a little bit hot for the time zones here, unfortunately. But that's almost kind of good because I don't want us to have a lot of things spoiled for me. But then if some of my questions are stupid, I apologize in advance. I really like that we've seen, in the trailer especially, we've seen a look at Mikey. We've seen, like a tabletop, a board game emphasis. And obviously, Steph is a huge nerd and gamer, and you are as well, yourself, Katy. We've seen a bit of Steph's DJ skills. I'm wondering if you think that if she would make a good, Twitch streamer or not. If there's some sort of like skill correlation and that kind of stuff.
I think that Steph would make a good Twitch streamer. I think it's really funny. I think with her DJing skills and just her being able to take callers at the on the radio station, it's just this good correlation between my own Twitch streaming, experience and Steph's own DJing and hosting experience. And it's been pretty cool to be able to work with that. And yes, I think she would be a great Twitch host.
It's like a lo-fi Haven, Colorado Twitch stream.
Yes.
Now, you sort of talked about Steph, and you called her things like a lesbian, queer, like it's easy to kind of put her into some containers. But what specifically has drawn you to the character, and what do you think draws others to the character? I only played Before the Storm because of Steph, not because of Chloe. Sorry, Chloe. No offense to Chloe, but I think Steph's awesome. What are your thoughts on the matter?
I think one of the biggest things is that she is a rock and she's so sure about who she is in Before the Storm. And with Wavelengths and True Colors, we get to learn a little bit more about her, get a little bit more insider information about who she really is. And she does have more than just that like cool chick, vibe to her. She has insecurities, she has fears, she gets excited over silly things that, you guys are going to be able, the player is going to be able to find out. So there's a lot to her. But I think that the main connection people made in Before the Storm was just this really relatable, cool person that seemed to know exactly who they were at 16 and were ready to freaking run the world with it.
That's awesome. Mallory, this is like a perfect chance for you to chime in, I think. and like a little side character, now a full-blown like proper character in true colors, before Wavelengths, but now especially with Wavelengths. How was it to be able to flesh out this obviously much beloved character?
Yeah, I mean, it's just been an absolute blast. I think something that we found super early on, back on Before the Storm with Steph, was just how much she seemed to have it figured out, and just how fun it was to write her dialogue. And typically a good rule of thumb is that if we're having a really fun time making something, people are probably going to have a fun time playing it. And so just to see our little unique character from Before the Storm received so well, and that we could mature the character and bring her back and continue to just write more fun stuff that we loved. It's been really a blessing. It's been a blast.
Awesome. And obviously it's a little bit different, I guess, Wavelengths in comparison to True Colors, Life is Strange on the whole, and that, if you think Life is Strange, you kind of think person with powers. So how is it different kind of writing for someone, a little bit more grounded, a little bit more realistic, as opposed to someone who can see emotions and be empathetic and all that kind of stuff?
I think this is maybe kind of a cheating answer, but I do think Steph has a certain kind of superpower. I think that creativity and that care that she brings to particularly things like the LARP or to the D&D from Before the Storm, she can really create experiences that take people out of themselves, and teach them about themselves. And we really wanted to lean into that magic that Steph does have in the contents and Wavelengths.
I've just done your character a disservice, I think, Katy. If you had to give her a superpower, would that be, has Mallory nailed it, or do you have a different?
I think Mallory has nailed it. I think that is a really good description of if Steph had a power. And we get to see that not only with the folks in the town that she's around, but also hopefully the player as well will have that experience, and they will learn something from playing Steph.
Nice. Now, I'm a giant homosexual, which doesn't matter. I just like representation, but I don't know. That's just the easiest way to kind of like summarize into like probably my thoughts, and so you understand what I'm talking about. How important is it to both of you to have this kind of representation in a game? Do you think, like, just go from there? Well, I'm sure there's lots to talk about.
Yeah, I think for me, it's just to be able to have the reaction from the fan base, the LGBTQ plus fan base, that really look for that representation in video games, just in media in general. But to have that representation, especially in this game, with a bisexual character and with a lesbian here, you have two really, really prominent characters who hopefully people from the community can relate to. I remember back when Before the Storm came out, I would receive letters from fans stating how much Steph meant to them just as that secondary NPC character, and how there was multiple people that wrote me letters saying that Steph gave them the courage to come out to their friends and their families, and to start living that life that they truly wanted and felt was their life they needed to live. And that was just incredible. And so I am just so honored to be able to bring and breathe breath into this character so that she can continue to hopefully inspire people.
Yeah, and Katy really touched on, I think, one of the reasons that it feels most important to me is that, like, the few queer characters that we do get to see in media, and particularly in games, it's not often that they are doing well and that they're getting what they want or figuring themselves out. And so I think for Steph to be gay and also so cool and also have such a loving community and sort of see how she creates that for herself is really important, especially when all the stories that you see with characters like you don't have happy endings that can kind of take a toll. And so for us, it was really important to show Steph, I'm not going to say she doesn't struggle or, like Katy said, have fears or insecurities, but she's living her best life.
It's I'm not trying to spruik the website, but I'm going to for a second. We have a wonderful writer named Alice Clark who wrote a piece about lesbian representation in games, and it's called Dead, Evil, or Pregnant, and like just example after example of dead or evil or pregnant, and it's just like, oh man. So it's good to see something completely outside of that trope. And I've just started looking at a little bit of the gameplay, and like I'd like to talk about Tinder for a second, because it's kind of like this good example of, or Tinder, whatever Tinder is called in the game. It's
Smolder.
There you go. It's a nice way to kind of, you're swiping right and left, but you know, like there was a 41-year-old and Steph is 24, and it wasn't just like, ew, she's old. It was just kind of like, which one do you want to swipe? It was kind of like just presented without comment. And obviously that was purposeful, I'm imagining. And the reaction that when you did swipe right on someone and it turned out to be somewhat accidental, it wasn't soul crushing. It was just kind of a nice slice of life. Is that how much effort was in putting together that little piece of gameplay that's maybe like 30 seconds that someone will kind of like either like really connect with or just kind of like immediately fly off?
Oh my gosh, so much work. Especially, I mean, from the writing perspective, there's so much stuff in that dating app that had to be created. But even then, our programming team and our UI team had to actually go in and make the damn thing. So it's, I think slice of life is really right. I think that's what we were aiming for. I think that's especially within queer communities, like dating apps are how you meet people like you that you can hang out with and have shared experiences with that you can't share with most people. And so we really wanted to capture that and bring it to players in really kind of, like a slice of life kind of way.
Excellent. We're getting like a hurry up. You're almost running out of time warning. So I'm like, what questions I want to ask. I'm really curious actually what you guys both consider to be like the canonical ending of True Colors, like where you see Steph or where you see Steph and or Alex, like just quickly. And yeah, it's kind of spoiling, but if people are playing Wavelengths, ideally they've already played True Colors. So hopefully we're not ruining too much.
For me, it was kind of a difficult decision. I played it. I sat there for a really long time trying to figure out what to do. I ended up having Alex seek adventure with Steph. I came to the conclusion that she can always come back. Alex can always come back to Haven. But I've also seen the opposite side of that too, where people are like, well, we can stay and then we can adventure later. So I think, it's just how you justify it for yourself and for Alex. And, are you playing as Alex or are you playing as the player? Like, where are you putting yourself in? And yeah, so I think it's just really up to the player, but I feel like both of them make a lot of sense.
Mallory?
Yeah, I don't know that I can I definitely can't give like a canonical answer, but I can tell you, I think I also choose to go on the road with Steph. For my 2 cents, I think Haven didn't quite end up being exactly the fresh start that Alex was hoping for when she left Helping Hands, and that she should get out there and really look for that thing that is right for her and not stop until she finds it.
I should have said brain cannon, but we
there you go.
There. Thank you. I was an idiot. I played as Steve, not Alex, and I picked Ryan, and then just like burnt all my bridges. I'm like, you're an idiot. I hate that. So I'm gonna have to replay, and I should have picked Steph. Sorry, Katie.
Ryan's a great character.
He's a
totally
boy.
Justified.
I should have picked Steph. Mallory, does this prequel DLC to True Colors present a challenge in that kind of way? In that there's probably going to be a couple different ways to end it, but obviously you have to kind of align Haven to be in a place for True Colors to pick off or to carry on from.
Yeah, prequels can always be a little bit tricky in that way. We need to make sure that we're offering choices that feel significant, but aren't so significant that it stops being a prequel and just completely invalidates the main game. So we definitely had to look for that balance. And I think players are going to find a lot more interactivity than they're maybe expecting in Wavelengths. There's tons of stuff to do, and we give the player tons of options for how they want to do it.
Nice. Yeah, I don't need there to be a giant mega corporation or something to stop. I'm just happy if it's just like DJing and hitting up Smolder, even though I know, it's probably not going to work out, but that's fine. Is there anything either of you wanted to say before I let you get back on with your days? And thank you so much for your time before I pass it over to you.
Just excited for the fans to be able to play more in True Colors world. Yeah.
Nice.
It's been such a wild journey that we've gone on between before the storm and now, and Katy has been with us for the whole thing. So yeah, at this point, I just can't wait to see what people think.
Nice. Excellent. You guys are amazing. Deck 9 and Mallory and Katy and everybody connected. You are the ally in the LGBTQIA spectrum. It's a long acronym, but it's all important. Thank you guys both so much for your time. It's absolutely appreciated.
Recording stopped.